So it's B. Okay, so ABC identifies value added and non-value added activities. It does not support the scheme. Okay, it just take the cost and assign it to the cost pool, and with the help of cost driver it just absorb the cost into the products. It doesn't really give you insight into the activities that whether they are value added or not. For that I need to do the analysis of the activities, whether they are required or not. Okay, whether it creates value, whether it has some value in the eyes of the customer, it is necessary to provide a certain level of service, right? So next is we are going to do a learning curve. Let me give you guys a brief overview of what a learning curve is. Have you guys taken the lecture of learning curve? You know the double approach and the formula approach is how to calculate, do the question. Okay. So learning curve, what is learning curve? Learning curve is a phenomena. Okay. Learning curve is a human phenomenon. Okay. So first of all, it won't be there in machine intensive work. Okay. When we're doing production on the machinery. So it is entirely a human phenomena that as we get familiar with a new product, okay, we are making, and we do the repetitive production, we actually get faster and faster. Yeah. For example, I'm making a desk for the first time, or definitely it will take long, maybe 10 hours to make a desk initially. But then if I'll continue making, for example, after making 1,000 desks, definitely I'll be much quicker. Maybe I'll be able to make it in 2 hours. Yeah. So that's a human phenomenon. And that happens when there is a scope of learning. So scope of learning is always comes in a complex product. There's certain prerequisites in which this learning curve effect actually shows. So it has to be a complex work. It has to be a repetitive nature work that you're going to repeat it. If you're going to take any breaks or you're going to change the design or something like that, and it won't be repetitive, definitely that learning effect which was coming, it will vanish. So there's certain prerequisite in order to take this as learning curve. One, it has to be a complex product. It has to be a new product that I'm making. Then only I will be in a learning phase. You have to be in a learning phase. Then only ultimately you'll get faster and faster, right? It has to be complex one. Yeah, even if you're making, for example, doing baking for the first time, making a pizza, you need to learn the technique. Definitely it will take long, but as you're going to learn the technique and as you're going to do it, make it over and over again, you definitely will take less time. So that is there, pretty much there, when something is complex and is repetitive, and something you're doing it for the first time, it is new. And whenever you're doing it, labor has to be motivated, because when you won't be motivated, or when you'll be taking breaks in between, then definitely that impact would be vanished. I'm not motivated to work, so I won't give my 100%. So there are certain prerequisites in order to observe the learning curve. So what it really tells, what the technique really tells, it tells that what is basically the learning curve principle. It was observed for the first time in the airplane manufacturing industry. Yeah, they in 1920, around 1920, and later it was adopted everywhere. They observed that whenever they were making airplanes in the batches, they observed that as the cumulative output doubles, yeah, as for example they made one airplane and then they made another one and it doubled. From one it went to two, and then it doubled again. They made two more, then it became four, and then they made four more, and then it became eight, or eight more. As it was doubling, 16 and 32, they actually observed as the cumulative output doubles, as the cumulative output doubles, the cumulative average time per unit actually falls by a fixed percentage. It wasn't a random number that earlier it was 80%, or the next batches took 80% of the time of the previous batch, or 70%, or 66%. No, it wasn't that. It was it was falling by a fixed percentage. So it wasn't random. So that's how they came to know that whenever you're doing a complex work and doing it for the first time, and there are no breaks and it's repetitive, so definitely there's the scope of learning in it. And this, and the principles tells that as the output is going to double, yeah, the cumulative average time per unit is going to fall by a fixed percentage. So what do I mean by, you need to understand the cumulative average time per unit. Yeah, what is cumulative average time per unit? Cumulative average time per unit is how you're going to calculate for each individual unit. There'll be different time, yeah, for each unit. So what you're going to do is you just sum up the total time taken for all the units, total time. For example, cumulative average time for 16 units. So it's going to be total time for 16 units divided by total number of units. So this phenomena was observed in the cumulative average time per unit, that as the output doubles, the cumulative average time per unit decreases by a fixed percentage. How I can take one example and show you. For example, I say that first unit takes, so I am going to make a table here, just like that. This will be the cumulative number of units I'm making. So every time I make more units, I just add up to this, because this is the cumulative total. Yeah, so it adds up, just like I was adding up there as well. So it just adds up. And then I calculate an average time per unit. Yeah, cumulative average time per unit, and then total time, and then incremental time. For example, I made the first unit and it took 12 hours, and I assumed the learning rate was 80%. Yeah, so when I will make one more unit, now the cumulative units would be 1 plus 1, it would be 2. Yeah, and the cumulative average time per unit will fall by fixed percentage, which is basically the learning rate. Means now if I collectively see the 2 units together, now what would be the average time for the 2 units now? So it's going to be 12 into 0.8. So it will take, average time per unit actually falls by a fixed percentage. How I do that? Divide 9.6 by 12 and you will get an idea. What was the rate of learning? 9.6 divided by 12 into 100, that is basically 80%. Means the cumulative units of 2 actually took 80% of the time. This took 100% and this took 80%. Means the learning is coming. Learning, so cumulative average time per unit, every time the output doubles, the cumulative average time per unit falls by a fixed percentage of 80%. Just like, so see what is going to be the total time for the first unit is going to be 12, or the incremental time for first unit, definitely it will be 12. Now if I see what is the average time for 2 units together, per unit time, average time